Okay, so the next video is based on the fixed manufacturing overheads. Right. So the fixed manufacturing overheads, guys, I know like last year on your first year, we used to, combine them. You said manufacturing overheads. We couldn't like split them. But in this year, you must know between your variable manufacturing overheads and your fixed manufacturing overheads. So the people who send me WhatsApp messages when I asked to say what is it that you guys don't understand, they say the fixed manufacturing overheads. So the fixed manufacturing overheads are those manufacturing overheads that remain fixed, like they don't change as production change, right? So regardless of how many units the factory produces, they remain fixed. So I'll give you examples like rent, right? So we are in a warehouse, we produce a certain product. Last year we produced let's say last month, actually. So last month, let's say we produced 45 units, and then next month we produced 50 units. As in the units increased, it doesn't mean that our rent will also increase. Or maybe, as let's say our units decreased, it doesn't mean our rent will also decrease. Like the rent will remain fixed. We are paying rent for using that warehouse or that building to manufacture products. The rent will remain fixed. So that is one of the examples. The other example, I would say taxes, rates and taxes, right? You pay tax regardless of how many units you have produced. Whether you have produced 300 units this year or whatever, your rate and taxes will remain fixed. So don't confuse the two. And also our indirect labor. So your cleaning staff, you can't say you pay the people who clean the warehouse or the people who clean the properties of the building. You can't say you're gonna pay them when the company produces a certain units and above. You pay them regardless of how many units the company has produced or the manufacturing entity has produced, right? So those are your fixed manufacturing overheads. So meaning regardless of how many the company produces, regardless of how many units the manufacturing entity produces, you're still gonna pay them, right? And also depreciation. Let's say you are baking cookies, right? This company, they bake cookies, so they're gonna need flour, eggs. I'm just making an example just for you to understand the whole concept. They're using flour, eggs, milk, butter and all that. So now the stove that is used to bake those cookies, it's still gonna depreciate, like regardlessly of how many cookies the company uses. Immediately when it's available for use, you're gonna calculate depreciation on that. Whether the company, this year they baked 500 cookies, next year they bake 100, but then the depreciation will remain constant. It doesn't mean if this year you are not baking, or maybe this month you produced less items, but still that stove that you are using to bake those cookies, it's still gonna depreciate each and every year, unless maybe you apportion it, right? So then, yeah, that is the definition of it, fixed manufacturing overheads. I know I didn't write it down, but then I think with this video that I've now explained what is this fixed manufacturing overheads, I think you guys can just make notes from what I've just said. And then your variables are those ones that they change, like the cost increases as the units increase. Electricity, when you use that stove to bake cookies, right? The more you use electricity, the more you're gonna pay, right? So your electricity expense will increase because now you are baking more cookies, right? So you used to, let's say last month you paid electricity 1,000 rands, because maybe let's say you produced 500 cookies, right? But then this month you have produced 800 cookies, so you've used more electricity, so you're gonna pay more, unless otherwise they tell. Sometimes they're gonna tell you that electricity, maybe 20% of the electricity cost, it's fixed, right? So if they tell you it's fixed, then you put it under the fixed manufacturing overheads. But then usually the electricity expense is variable, right? So yeah, that is the whole concept, that is the whole definition. And then now we're gonna move. The next video will therefore be on the allocated manufacturing overheads.